Hey, today we're talking about the digestive and the urinary system. So the digestive system is a pretty straightforward path which food moves down as it gets digested through the body. So I'm just going to talk about one thing before we get started on the path of the body. Food gets digested through a process called peristalsis, and that's what moves it down all your tubes and pipings, and that's what helps you to be able to digest food even though you might not be sitting in the preference of gravity. So that's the motion that goes almost like this down the tubes, and it just pushes your food down. So we're going to start out in our mouth. So this is where food enters. It's the only entrance for food, unlike your respiratory system. And food gets mechanically processed in the mouth by the teeth, where it mixes with saliva that have been injected by the salivary glands. And then the tongue is like a flap that just pushes your food down your throat. So next we move into the pharynx. So the pharynx is your throat, and so the food moves down your pharynx into your esophagus. And your esophagus is a pipe that takes the food all the way down into your stomach. And the esophagus is lined up. It's actually kind of attached, I guess, to the aorta. Not the aorta, sorry. The trachea. It's attached to the trachea. So the epiglottis is that little flap that keeps the food in the esophagus and not in the trachea. So as we're moving down the esophagus, at the end of the esophagus, right before the stomach, you have a sphincter. And this keeps food this helps the food go in. It also keeps stomach acid from coming back out. And a sphincter is just like where a muscle gets really tight, and it almost looks like, it's like when your finger, like you get like these little marks. It's like that. And then it opens up, and it lets whatever it needs to go. So there's that lower esophageal sphincter right before the stomach. And then food enters through there into the stomach, where it gets chemically digested by stomach acids. And after the stomach, it passes back out of the stomach through the pyloric sphincter. And in the stomach, there are things called villi, and they're like this, and they just increase your surface area in the stomach. So that's found in the stomach. So then we exited out of the pyloric sphincter, and now we're headed into the small intestine. So the pyloric sphincter is right between the small intestine and the stomach. And the small intestine is broken down into 3 parts. So just for like our purposes, we kind of divide it as like going from anterior to posterior, or superior to inferior, I'm sorry. But in reality, these sections are divided if you were to like extend your small intestine, but the small intestine, as we know, is just a big clump of your intestine, so you can't like exactly see where the path is of like where one section starts from the other. So you have 3 sections. You have your duodenum, which is your highest part, jejunum, and ileum. And ileum is where your small intestine attaches to your large intestine through the ileocecal valve. And this valve is also a sphincter. They just call it a valve for some reason. So through this ileocecal valve, your food now is, at this point, it's called chyme. After it left the stomach, it was called chyme. So the chyme at this point is now, through that small intestine, water has been absorbed, nutrients have been absorbed, and the large intestine will absorb the rest of the water. So like along the way through the small intestine, you have your pancreas and your liver and your gallbladder, which are secreting hormones and chemicals into your food or chyme. And so the gallbladder secretes bile, which is made by the liver. The gallbladder is just a little sac that like stores what the liver makes. And then your pancreas secretes insulin. So these are really important things for helping you digest food and maintaining your proper balance in your body. So then we're back in the large intestine. Right at the large intestine's entrance from the small intestine to the large intestine, there's this little extra organ, and it's called the appendix. And like for a long time, and even I thought this, apparently the appendix doesn't have a purpose, right? You can just take it out and it'll be okay. But and this is true, you can't take it out if you don't need it, but or or if it's harming you, if it's erupted. But actually it has good bacteria that is very essential for the body's balance and for maintaining health in the body, which now is being recognized. So your appendix is not completely useless. It's got something to do with your body. So as we enter the large intestine, the large intestine is, it differs from the small intestine in that it's not as long and not as like jumbled up. It just has 3 parts. So it goes up, called the ascending colon, it goes across, called the transverse colon, and it goes down, and it's called the descending colon. So these 3 parts are just the large intestine where the water is absorbed. And then the large intestine breaks off into the sigmoid colon, which then attaches to the rectum, and then at this point, your food, what started as food is now feces, and it exits through the anus, which is also another sphincter. So this is the process of food as it goes through your body. A couple of digestive processes that we can go over. Absorption is when water and nutrients are absorbed from the food or liquid, and they're absorbed into the bloodstream for the body's use. So we talked about bile. It's a secretion from the gallbladder that helps to break down lipids. Then you also have your chemical digestion, and chemical digestion is, it occurs mainly in the stomach or with the saliva found in your mouth. Chyme is the mixture of food and stomach acids and bile. Feces is your solid waste product that exits through your anus. Flatulence is gas buildup, so farting is flatulence. And then your gastric secretions are those juices and acids in your stomach. Then you have some of the processes. Mastication is the process of food being broken down by your teeth, so it's chewing. Mastication. That's mechanical digestion, when food is broken down physically. And then peristalsis, we talked about, is this movement as it goes down the body like this. And then segmentation it's more of a circular motion that helps to keep food mixing as it's going down the pipes and tubes. Now we're going to talk about the urinary system. So the urinary system is a little bit more complicated.